Hey there, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar on Accelerate Growth with AI-Ready Data Architecture. My name is Shomik Ghosh. I'm Senior Assistant Editor with the Economic Times CIO, and I'm glad to be your host and moderator for this session. Now, AI adoption in India has seen tremendous uptake, but there's pressure to deliver real, scalable outcomes. Now, the foundation of any successful AI initiative lies in the AI-ready data strategy, a strategy that can ensure that the data is secure, high quality, and can be accessed across the enterprise. Now, in today's webinar, ladies and gentlemen, we give you the critical pillars of building such a strategy. Today, we will gain actionable insights on how to harness data to drive smarter decision making, fuel innovation, and uncover new revenue opportunities and streamline operations. We'll be looking at practical, actionable strategies that can optimize your operations and maximize your AI investments. We'll also discover how to break down data silos and connect your enterprise data for a unified view that can fuel your AI innovation. We'll be learning from IBM and AWS on how to successfully build AI ready data architectures. And of course, we are going to be witnessing some cutting edge AI solutions and see how can they be applied into your industry. And to do that, let me welcome our guests for this session. Let me welcome Harshil Turakia. He's the Senior Brand Technical Specialist at IBM. Harshil, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Homik.
All right. Up next, we've got Jaiprakash Dave. He's the Partner Solutions Architect at AWS. JP, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Shamik. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right. Now, folks, we're going to give you perspectives from both IBM and AWS, and we want this to be a very interactive session. We've got a couple of polls that we want to engage you with. We would also request you to please share your questions in the Q&A box. Harshil and Jay here would be more than happy to have them addressed and answer them for you. All right. That said, we're going to be starting with the first poll question, and then we'll be looking at what IBM brings to the table with respect to fueling AI growth. Okay, so this is essentially to understand the AI adoption in your organization. So to what extent have you adopted AI in your organization's processes? Not at all, to some extent, to a large extent, or to a significant extent. We'll give you folks about 10 or 15 seconds to answer the first poll question. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll dive straight into IBM's roadmap for data modernization and AI readiness. Okay, I reckon we've got enough responses by now. Team, can we close the poll and have a look at the results, please? To some extent, 69%, followed by, to a large extent, 22%. And these are very optimistic numbers out there. I see to a significant extent is more than organizations who haven't tried AI at all. Harshil, I mean, those are good numbers out there. Is this in line with what you expected for Indian organizations?
So yeah, I think this is a good start to a Friday evening. First of all, once again, thank you everyone for taking out time on a weekend for this session. And myself and JP, we both will ensure that your time is absolutely worth off. And with that note, let me just kickstart the session, right? I think as you all have answered the poll, I think AI is not a new discussion to all of us, right? I assume all the enterprise that you represent, AI is a topmost initiative that is getting discussed at your board, right? And almost each and every organization have now embarked onto AI first as a journey, right? So to that, what we have seen is there are a lot of POCs and pilots and MVPs that are built, but very few of them see the light of the production, right? And that is what are the root cause, right? So that is the area of or the topic of discussion that we are going to focus in today's session, right? Uh, Talking about the area of focus, what we understand is that it is absolutely important to have a right and a strong formation of data which is trustworthy to be there as a strong pillar for all your AI based use cases, right? And that is where not just us, but if you can see this poll, Even Gartner recommends that AI ready data initiatives are in the topmost priority and topmost, mandatory list for all the organization, right? And then it includes about having the right quality of data, ensuring that there is an end-to-end enterprise-wide governance, so on and so forth, right? Now, talking about that and building on these aspects, we have seen our data repositories have evolved significantly over the time, right? We started with the warehouses of the world, then came the data lakes. We are all must be using about cloud-based data warehouse, and now there is a quick buzz around, decent buzz around first generation lakehouse solution. What is the need of the hour? While AI being the tipping point, the need of the hour is to have a Gen AI ready lakehouse. And I mean, there would be a question, right? What is the difference between the first gen lakehouse and the Gen AI ready data lakehouse? That is what we are going to uncover and give you an IBM and AWS point of view with IBM joining hands with AWS. This is a great opportunity for all of our customers to embark on AI ready data architecture, right? And that is what we are going to start with as a high level skeleton. Now, if you see this building blocks, it is no different that what you would be having within your respective organization, but there are two to three critical aspect that gets addressed as part of an end-to-end building blocks that you see, right? I'm sure you must have heard about having a very strong data fabric as a layer for you to ingest or tap in multiple sources, get the data, transform it, and then host it in your persistent layer. But what is more important and evolving these days is the box that you see over here, which we call as data observability. What we understand is that having a continuous observability lens on the data pipeline that you build is of utmost important for you to ensure that all the knowledge workers, those are going to consume your data from data persistent layer as part of these consumption layer, does not you know spend their time in fixing data related issue. We have seen a Gartner chart earlier, right? The new chart, or there is a different chart that Gartner talks about, is that almost 46% of data scientists or business analysts spend their time to fixing data quality or data related issue, whether it is quality, completeness, missing data, etc., etc., right? So that is where the data observability comes into handy. The other important aspect is that you see over here a governance layer, right? uh, Earlier we used to have governance only till where the data gets persisted, but nowadays where custodian of data has gradually moved toward your business user, which sits majorly on this side from the IT side of the world, right? So your business user are the new custodian of data rather than compared to the IT world, right? So, and what do I mean by that? So while your data engineers can bring the data or load the data into warehouse, lakehouse, or marts, but then this is where the consumption happens. So this is where your, let's say, analytics team, BIU team, or the personas like data scientist, prompt engineers, business analyst, model engineer comes into the play, right? This is where they create new or derived attributes. So it is important to extend your governance layer till your consumption part. So these are few nuances which again, IBM has worked extensively with Gartner to build up this kind of a skeleton. And this is generic, right? This can be applied across any industry, whether we have team joining in from manufacturing, BFSI, telco, be it any industry. This is going to be the lay of your land, right? Now, if I want to fill this with IBM color coding, these are the components that IBM offers for each of these boxes that you see, right? So then what we have an extensive data integration layer, which not only ensure that you can have your data transformed in a batch manner, but also in a real time, near real time manner. We talked about having a Gen AI ready lake house, right? Which predominantly sits here. and you talk about most of your GenAI use cases, whether it is RAG or summarization, entity extraction, etc., etc. These are heavily dependent on unstructured data as well as some of structured data, but this requires a good mix of unstructured and structured data to be persisted well in your data persistent layer. That is where the data fabric layer from IBM offers you a single unified pane or a control to not just cater to structured but unstructured data as well. And this is what I'll cover in my subsequent slides as well, right? The other important aspect, I'm sure people in the call would be aware about the concept of warehouse and databases. What we are going to focus is predominantly on the lakehouse aspect. What when we say second generation or Gen AI ready lakehouse, what do we mean by that? Right? Is what we are going to cover. The third aspect that we are going to cover over here is the data product hub, and this is something which has attracted a lot of interest from the enterprise, because when you store or persist the data, an enterprise-wide data at a persistent layer, be it warehouse or lakehouse, that becomes a single point of reference for all the different verticals or BUs to consume. Now, instead, the traditional way is that every BU comes to the IT team, request for a data, and then IT team raise a ticket with the DBAs, which query the data and send it across to the respective BU. But then, with the data product hub as a concept, you can just publish your data into a marketplace or a data marketplace, which is completely centralized and with right check of governance layer applied on top of it. So we are going to cover, while this covers the end-to-end, platform, at the same time it is modular in nature. So we are going to talk specifically about data fabric, data governance, lakehouse, and data product hub as a modular aspect for every enterprise to embark on AI ready data architecture, right? And we can have multiple logos and customers, which I can name, who have just pick and choose one or two components that you see over here to fill the end to end, because it is important to cater to the existing investment as well, right? I cannot certainly come and wash away your investment and say, okay, deploy my platform end to end. No, we can pick and choose the components from here, from the slide, and then we can, fix it as part of end to end data and AI lifecycle, right? So what we are going to do next, and I would request you, please feel free to ask your questions. I think we have a dedicated time during the end of our session to cater to each of your queries, right? So what we are going to first focus is on the integration part of the data fabric layer that you see, right? And this entire platform, by the way, that the components that we are going to talk about, you can simply go on your AWS marketplace, just opt for it, and start using it from your AWS account. The best part is this entire IBM ecosystem is now available on AWS marketplace running from Mumbai. So your data residency is also taken care. And I'm sure JP is going to focus more about and cover this aspect in detail. But when it comes to IBM capability or IBM data integration layer, right? As I said, not just the frequency of processing. What I mean by that is you can definitely process your data in an ETL format in a batch mode, but then the same platform also offers you a real-time streaming data replication capability for both structured as well as unstructured data. That is the biggest advantage, and everything can be done as part of one unified control plane. Now, with the change in time, we are seeing different personas of data engineer. So predominantly data integration is handled by a category of persona called as data engineers. Now with this change and ease of use, we have seen different categories or personas within data engineer. And what I mean by that is there is a category of persona within data engineer who would say, okay, I will build my entire pipeline by writing code, right? Which is your Python could be your choice of language using Spark as your processing layer, which we call it as a programmer data engineers. The second personas of data scientists would say, okay, I want to design my pipeline, my data pipeline, but I don't want to write a code. I will use a drag and drop capability of the tool to, build my pipeline. This is what, we call it as a visual data engineers. And the third personas of data engineers are predominantly citizen data engineers, which say, okay, where is the use of AI? Why don't I use AI to build my ETL pipeline? We say, okay, fine. We have Gen AI assistant available for the citizen data engineers. And what I mean by that is you can simply, converse in a chat window and your pipeline gets built, behind the scene. And I have a few screenshots I'll just walk you through, right? So net, what are we saying over here? Just to summarize, we have one unified control plane to process your structured as well as unstructured data, process it at different frequency, which is at batch, real time, near real time, inner application manner, and cater to different personas of data engineers, whether it is code based, drag and drop, or just Gen AI based. The important aspect, other important aspect which I told about was a data observability. Now, along with all this, you also get a data observability capability that will observe your data pipeline while your data is in transit and give you a real-time alert at any point in time if there is any issues, right? And I'll cover that in subsequent slides. So it is very important to you for you to know and understand that all this is available as part of one single license available to you. And the beauty about this product is that you can host this on the infrastructure of your choice. While AWS could be your preferred choice, where you just click few buttons from marketplace and boom, you are ready to use it as a SaaS, as a pay as you go, kind of like you are using various other AWS component. But then if you also wish to use it in a hybrid manner, let's say on-prem, on multi-cloud, or infrastructure of your choice, this entire platform is infra agnostic, right? So that is the power that we bring as part of a complete data integration layer, which can also help you to choose multiple engines to process your workload, whether it is push down, use the power of your data warehouse, or use the power of the same platform for processing your data, right? So that is the first aspect on the data integration. Let's double click this even more, and this screenshots that you see refers back to multiple categories of data engineers, right? Programmer, citizen who is using AI bot to build the pipeline, or a drag and drop visual data scientist or a data engineer, right? I talked about data observability. What I mean by that is if there are any issues that that occurs in your entire ETL or data pipeline, 46% of your day, or most of the time, it's get discovered by your end user, which is data scientist or business analyst. And that is where I said 46% of their time goes in fixing the data issues. With IBM, data observability solution, which we call it as data band as a product, you identify and flag of the issue right at the time when it has occurred. So your mean time to detect and resolve an error reduces drastically. As an end result, your business user or your consumer of data have great trust on the quality of the data that is being delivered to them, right? And how do we do that? Irrespective of whatever pipeline that you choose. I'm not saying just use IBM's pipeline only, but let's say any heterogeneous product that you use to build your pipeline, whether it is into Databricks, whether it is a Python based code, or Airflow, SQL jobs, Snowflakes, DBT, anything. We integrate with your pipeline, create a historical baseline, and then it has a screen for you to define your rules, anomalies at the time. For example, if a particular pipeline typically ends in 4 hours, one fine day after 8 hours the pipeline is not completed. That is where automatic anomalies can be triggered, and it gives you, okay, this is where the problem is, so the data engineer can immediately go and fix the issue rather than scrolling through the thousands and lines of log codes, right? So that is on the data integration. The second offering is on the governance, right? We said that it is very important to have an end-to-end governance layer. But just like data integration, the data governance capability is also available on AWS marketplace, and you can, just like data integration, you can simply go to your AWS credits on the marketplace and just boom, right? You click and you can use it as a SaaS offering. But having said that, from IBM, we are again infra agnostic, so that logic applies, sorry, everywhere. What are we going to cover in this section is predominantly how well you can govern your data to define the right quality. Very important to have an end-to-end lineage and a centralized data marketplace, right? So all these capability again, and you can choose only the governance layer as one of the module. If you think, okay, you have solved the integration problem, the persistent problem, I don't have a right governance, you can only pick and choose the governance module where you get all these capabilities as part of one single license, right? Now, what all do we cover over here? As per Gartner, active metadata management is one of the key, offering of any governance layer that we have. So, as part of our data governance layer, and what is this active metadata management, right? So, imagine a scenario where your team lead throws a new data to you, or a data science team or a business analyst, some business user, or there is some marketing data that gets thrown to you, and now they ask you, okay, understand this data and generate, give me your analytical view on top of it, right? So since you are pretty new, that data is pretty new to you, how do you, how this tool will help you quickly adapt to that data? The very base layer that you see over here, the entire, your enterprise wide data privation or data protection or privacy rules, you can define your policies. For example, PAN card should be characters plus digit, etc., etc. Email address should have @ sign. So all those rules and policies can be defined. Plus, you can create enterprise-wide business glossary, or we call it as business terms, right? You can, if you have already created, you can simply upload it on this platform. And what this layer does is, every time you access a new data, or let's say a new team member joins your team, when a user is not aware about the data, they simply use our out of 80 plus out of the box connector, tap into the source system and simply run this auto curation layer. What this will do is, it will make use of all these capabilities that you have already predefined, whether it is rules, business terms, etc., etc. So it will auto discover data, it will auto classify data, it will detect, okay, if the data consists any PII data or sensitive data. It will analyze and give you a nice quality dashboard, quality sheet or a quality metrics of the data that you are ingesting, and as I said, assign business term. So now you are much more familiar with the data, so that now you can go ahead and process or make sense out of this data, right? So this all is available at few clicks for you, right? You don't have to write any code for this. You also have a data quality remediation workflow as well. Let's say if there are any quality gaps that you have identified, you can immediately trigger a remediation workflow, assign it back to the owner, ask them to fix that issue, and then again process it. That is on the left hand side, automated active metadata management. It gives you an enterprise wide knowledge catalog where you can simply search or shop for your data in a natural language manner, and you out of the catalog, just like you shop on your Amazon, Myntra, or any other e-commerce site, which enables the self service of the data, right? So you can now be very agnostic to the data right from day one, even if you have not seen or worked on that data before. So this enhances your time to productivity drastically, make you self-sufficient to understand the data and generate. You don't have to reach out to multiple teams and rely on multiple teams for making sense of the data, right? It also comes with a data virtualization layer as well, wherein you can have, which also have a intelligent cache recommendation mechanism. And all these, of course, of course, this required a dedicated session and time. But what I'm trying to gauge is, or give you a download or a key takeaway that you can take from this session, is this: all this is possible, and you can always reach out to us if you want to have a detailed one-on-one session on this, right? What I am going to cover in the next slide is this particular box. I purposely did not highlight it much about it, but data lineage in itself is a very important and much I would say essential, mandatory from the regulatory perspective. The regulators have now started asking, okay, you are taking certain decision basis your AI models, give me a backtrace or a traceability of whether this data is correct, whether is data coming from the right source, the right processing logic is applied, etc., etc. Now imagine if you don't have a lineage kind of a capability, it becomes pretty difficult for you to respond to any ad hoc queries coming in from your regulator. So do we don't is this concept new? No. Are there any tools? Are there no other tools in the market which can give you data lineage? Answer is yes. There are plenty of tool available in the market. So what's new in this, and what differentiator IBM brings to the table, right? What IBM does is, so the majority of the tool in the market ends your data lineage up till your data persistent layer. So irrespective of wherever you store the data, this is where your lineage ends, and from here till source easily you can backtrace. But as we covered in our session that largely the consumption layer is with your business user, right? This is where they create new derived attributes, new calculated columns, and this is where the reports are submitted to your management or auditors, regulators, etc., etc. Now if they come and ask, okay, what is the this derived attribute that you have created here, how, from where have you sourced it and what logic have you applied, tell me, you are absolutely lost because you have no lineage from year to year. That is where IBM's Manta helps you to cover your consumption layer as well, even if with the model, right? So let's say you do a lot of feature engineering while you create models, you create new attributes which has a significant value in contribution to the decision making, but these models or attributes are created at consumption layer and might have no occurrence over here. So it is very important. It is very difficult without this tool for you to backtrace from consumption layer till source. And that is the problem that IBM Manta solves. And as you can see on the screen, it comes with 50 plus out of the box connectivity to almost all the tools that you use in respective boxes that you see over here, right? So again, this product as a standalone can be purchased by you, available on AWS marketplace or any other infrastructure, right? So I just thought I'll highlight that point. Quickly moving on, I know I have very less time with me, but just wanted to cover a few important topics. The other important topic is what I talked about is having a centralized data marketplace for your user to come and literally shop for the data in a governed environment, right? So your data engineer, data steward can create a cut of data, publish it just like you publish your technology on the marketplace. You can publish it on the marketplace of this data product hub. The role based access will be given to your user from multiple business unit. They can come see the relevant cut, understand what the data is, and they can be your subscriber. So they can subscribe to this data in the form of APIs, live streaming, or even they can download and start generating insight out of it. And you can have a underlying contracts defined for the time the data has been subscribed to this marketplace. Very important tool, and this is the need of the hour for almost all the enterprises whom we are talking to these days, right? The last topic of today's discussion is the data lakehouse. Again, what when we talk about gen AI ready data lakehouse or a next gen lakehouse, what are the key differentiators that we bring onto the table? The very first differentiator in the bottom box that you see, again, we are hybrid. So the first generation lakehouse are available only on cloud. IBM's Open Data Lakehouse is the only product that can be available on-prem as well as on cloud. Again, a classical differentiator. Here, just like any other lakehouse, we are segregating your compute and storage. But what we are saying is you can be compliant to any S3 compliant object store, right? Again, for on-prem solution, we have IBM storage, but as the partnership with AWS goes, this can be again available on AWS. You can use S3 as your object store available on AWS as a SaaS, right? Again, we store, it helps you store all open format data with a layer of iceberg on it. The key aspect or the differentiator, the second differentiator, I'll call it, is an end-to-end governance. At present, first generation lakehouse lacks the end-to-end governance that we have seen in previous two slides, whether it is active metadata management, end-to-end data lineage, etc., etc. Right? So it comes with an end-to-end governance layer with an option of multiple query engine, and this is the secret sauce to the recipe, right? The first generation lakehouse predominantly have only one way of processing the data, which is very compute intensive, whether it is read operation or write operation. Here we have given flexibility to our user to use multiple query engine. Let's say they use Spark for analytical purpose or to write the data, which is very good at it. But for read, you can have a SQL query engine which is like Presto, and this is where your cost reduces drastically, right? So you can balance out your cost, and you can, and by the way, both this Presto and Spark, IBM has rewritten, so the entire logic which is traditionally developed in Java, so IBM has rewritten into C++, hence it gives performance to price benefit to our customer, right? The other important aspect is the vector DB. When we say we are Gen AI ready, typically all these Gen AI use case requires a vectorized data to be stored, the embeddings, the chunks to be stored in a vector DB. Here we have an option of using an open source vector DB, which is Milvus, or IBM has acquired DataStack last quarter, right? So it is the biggest acquisition that IBM in the IBM history, according to me. All of you are must be using UPI, right? So UPI, which is provided by NPCI, is currently hosted on DataStax as a database, NoSQL database. The kind of workload, I'm sure everyone knows the kind of usage of UPI the country is doing, right? It is managing at the moment 50,000 TPS per, I mean, transactions per second, which is our approximately 18 million transactions per hour. And it is working fabulously. So this is where the IBM has done the acquisition, right? So we have a NoSQL database, and all in all, if you see, all these component can be bundled and clubbed as part of one single line item when this licensing is concerned. And the best part is, while this is available as a SaaS offering on AWS, the key differentiator from other first generation lakehouses, this entire offering can be available in a perpetual licensing mechanism as well. What do I mean by that is, it is no more pay as you go, because pay as you go in some scenario would result to a lot of bill shocks. Here, the user will have price predictability right from day one. So those options are also available, and that is some of the key differentiator. You might raise a question, okay, then IBM is doing a lock-in. No, you see, all these technologies that are used as part of our lakehouse is completely open source, so there is zero vendor lock-in, and you can get n number of resource or talent in the market you on these things. So it is no IBM proprietary, but at the same time, IBM gives you enterprise grade support for all these open source technology, right? So it is a win-win scenario for you as a user. Now we have talked a lot about technology, right? Let's see, where is this technology in use. So these are, of course, while I have just an representation of banks, but again, this platform is being used in manufacturing domain, in in I would say telcos, in insurance, etc., etc., right? Because it is a platform, so it can be applied on any use case. But these are three different scenarios where we have seen an Indian bank is using the complete integration and governance layer that you have seen for forming a trust, or trusted base for doing all side kind of AIML use cases. The South Asian Bank is moved their entire warehouse to the lake house. They have done modernization of warehouse, where they have done drastic cost optimization using by transforming high cost warehouse workload onto the lake house. and the third, which is an Asian, again another Asian bank, have migrated from data lake to lake house, right? So we have seen all the varieties, migrating your or offloading your warehouse workload onto lake house, modernizing your data lake strategy, or having a trusted, form of the data for enabling all your AI and Gen AI use cases. That is on watsonx.data. As I told, watsonx.data use Presto as a processing engine, and these are some of the global customer, and you can see the workload that this tool uses, and it is second to none, right? It can handle massive workloads, as you can see, and each of these logos are champion or top player in their respective industries, right? Moving on, this is again the new kid in the town, as I said, data stacks. These are some of the referentiable customers that you see across different industries, right? Whether it is energy, as I said, media, telco, financial, logistic, or technology. These are our trusted customer, and you can see the power of IBM by bringing all these together, depending upon what use cases you have, right? So on that note, I would just like to, and it is my immense, I take this immense pride and pleasure in doing this announcement with you all guys, is that what all technology that you have seen, watsonx.data, watsonx.ai, governance, data stage, IKC, which is our governance layer, data lineage layer, a data product hub, which is a data sharing layer. Everything is available on AWS. So that is where IBM and AWS joins hand in making world simpler for you and help you embark on your Gen AI ready or AI ready approach, right? So on that note, I'll take a pause here and I'll stop my screen and I'll invite my friend Shomik, to pass on the torch to JP, right? So Shomik, over to you.
Thanks so much. I think there was some very pertinent points that you made out there, Harshil, especially with respect to unstructured data. I think the last estimate of Gartner said that about 80 to 90% of newly generated enterprise data is unstructured, and we only know the treasure trove that can be unearthed through unstructured data. So we're going to be finding out more on how to actually get that value out of unstructured data. We see a couple of questions pouring in. Thank you so much for your questions, Amit Kumar and Jaswinder. We're going to have them addressed at the end of today's session, but do please keep those questions coming in. I'm sure our experts here would be more than happy to address them for you. But before that, we've got another poll. So can we please have the second poll question coming up for our audience? Which module do you think is the most relevant basis for your organization's AI journey? Is it going to be data governance, data integration, data lakehouse, or do you think it's going to be a combination of all three?
I think this should be fresh in everyone's mind. So let's hope for a full,
Yeah,
100% response on this.
yeah. One of the guys was asking, one of the audience members was actually asking if there's a possibility to share the deck, Harshil.
Yeah.
I think our team is going to be reaching out to you at the end
Sure.
of this webinar.
Sure.
And then, based on that, if you express your interest, the IBM team can get in touch with you. And I'm sure Harshil will be more than happy to share this deck with you. So keep
Absolutely.
those questions coming in. We'll have them addressed by experts here. We've got IBM and AWS with us. Okay, so
Oh,
63% believe it's going to be a combination of all three. Data governance and data integration take equal share, 16% each. Again, Harshil, in line with what your estimates are?
absolutely. Yes, yes. I think this has made my Friday evening, is what I can say. And yeah, as I said, we'll be more than happy to get in touch with you personally, and we can plan a separate session, detailed session with you. But I think it's time for my friend JP to come in, I guess, right, Shomik?
Yeah. GB, over to you. Tell us what AWS does
All right.
with respect to.
Okay. Thanks, Shamik and Hashil. That was really informative session. What you I just went through a lot of services, a lot of details. Right now, as the last announcement, what you did, where you said that you have all these solutions, what you're talking about, are already available on AWS Marketplace. So let me go slightly deeper on that and talk about, okay, what all other than these solutions which are already available on the marketplace as of today. Now, I'll try to add one number over there. So IBM today on a data and AI related solutions or offerings, if I have to put right, there are in total of 57 offerings and solutions which are available on AWS Marketplace, which the customers who are using AWS can very easily use those solutions in their AWS environment just by doing some clicks, the way you said, right? So now that is the level of alliance what we have, where we have multiple solutions or offerings which are published. Now, as we are talking about marketplace, let me talk some more detail on what is exactly marketplace. Now, for people those who are already aware of AWS, are using AWS in their day-to-day basis, right? What does this particular marketplace gives you? AWS marketplace helps you find, buy, deploy, and manage the softwares, the data, professional services you need, allowing you to transform your software supply chain to foster digital growth and innovation. Now, if I have to put it in a very simple language, you are looking for the solutions, right? For example, let's say you are looking for a DevOps tool or a security product, right? You can very easily find those solutions on the marketplace available, which you can consume in your environment. Now, you will say, JP, I'll need some procurement process and everything. Now, marketplace also streamlines your procurement process and the deployment at the same time, because the solutions which are available in the marketplace are like, you can go with the same the agreement, or I would say from a procurement point of view, right? You can easily negotiate on the pricing and everything on the marketplace itself. Now, that is one part. Other than that, it is also giving you an option to consolidate and optimize the cost, where you are able to see all the cost what you are incurring using these services. You don't have to go look at different places, right? It gives you flexible pricing options that allows you to ease into the commitment and test out the softwares before the long term commitment. Now, let's say, for example, you are looking for a tool which is kind of very expensive, and you just want to try it before you decide to acquire or to start using that particular solution, and that is where marketplace can help you very quickly. Now, at the same time, the governance component we are talking about, you are, as you are already managing your AWS cost and everything, the marketplace cost can be seen at the same place, and you can very easily do the governance activities over there. Now, this is more why you would be using marketplace, right? Now, let's understand what are the benefits people are seeing in the marketplace when they're using the marketplace. We commissioned a study by for Foster to demonstrate how AWS Marketplace can help time to value. And that's what I guess Harshil also talked about, right? The study found that the customer who started using AWS Marketplace experienced 70% time saving in product discovery, 60% time saving due to streamlined procurement, and customers also experienced 30% faster time to market with streamlined deployment on AWS. Now, I'll just take one more minute before I hand over on we start on the Q&A, right? Let's understand what are the numbers we are talking about when it comes to marketplace. We are invested in broader community of marketplace sellers to help you transform and modernize your organization. Now, I don't want to repeat the numbers which you're seeing in the on the screen, where we're talking about 25,000 plus publicly listing like the solutions and other things, right? And again, as Harshal also said, these solutions, what we are talking about from IBM, you can very easily subscribe them In AWS, if you are already using AWS account, you just have to go through few clicks and you will be able to use well, the solutions in your AWS environment. With that, I'll give it back to Somik.
All right. Thank you so much for that, JB. I think we've got questions already lined up for us, and let me dive straight into it. The first one comes from Anil Kumar Pandit, who is saying, is a QFD built to quantify data observability, and can its format be available to evaluate it? So, how do you see QFD, the quality function deployment? How do you see it, coming into data observability? Your take on this?
Yeah, maybe I'll go on, first, and maybe JP can respond. But what I see is data observability itself in itself is the, I would say, practice of monitoring and identifying data quality aspect, right? So typically whatever consumers or customers data quality needs are, you saw those four screenshots, right? So on the top right, I don't know if you remember or not, but in the top right there was a mechanism where you can define your quality aspects, quality needs, quality rules, which can be tracked and observed during your entire ETL pipeline. So while the another way of answering is IBM's data observability tool in itself helps you addressing customers or consumers quality needs in a intuitive no code low code kind of a manner, right, where you just configure your data quality needs, and while the data is in transit during your entire ETL pipeline, it will ensure that the data processing or the ETL layer or the pipeline adheres to the rules that you have, quality rules that you have already defined. At the same time, it is also inbuilt with the, because it takes the baseline or history of the pipeline that runs daily, and as per that baseline, if there are any anomalies, it proactively, whether you have defined or not as those quality rules, but then it proactively understands, okay, this is an anomaly here, and immediately flag you off the section of the log file where the error has occurred, right? So I hope I was able to address, and of course we can get in detail. In fact, what you can do is IBM data observability or data band is available. Details is available on public side. Have a look at it. There are some publicly shared demos as well, which you can go through and understand. And of course, you can get in touch with any one of us for a detail and a deep dive session. I hope that addresses the point.
All right, Mr. Pandit, thank you so much for that question. The next one coming in from Mr. Jaswinder Singh. So Jaswinder asks us, data lineage is a big issue in a lot of banks, and it has been pointed out by the regulator. How can IBM's lineage tool help in this regard?
Great question again, and this resonates completely. Jaswinder, I align with your thought process. In fact, this quarter, couple of weeks back, we have closed our data lineage deal with one of the Indian bank, right? So you are absolutely bang on. Regulators are behind the financial institute to ensure that whatever decision they are doing with the data, they have complete back trace capability to its source. So this is no brainer. It is important. How IBM can help is, see, because every bank or every institute have their way of building and defining pipelines. Now IBM's Manta, of course, and Manta was, till last year was an independent OEM, our partner. IBM has acquired Manta, and the way we have integrated that with our governance layer is that it can help you connect to, irrespective of whatever tool set that you are using. Let's say if your data is in an Oracle database and you are using a talent pipeline or an Informatica ETL pipeline to storing the data in Teradata. So now these are all heterogeneous components, right? The best part is IBM Manta have out of the box connectors to all these components. And the story doesn't stop here. As I said, the custodian is moved to IT. So all the reportings or the AI decision making is taken care from the consumption layer, if you recollect the diagram that I was showing. So IBM's Manta is now extended till your consumption layer as well. So any calculated columns that you create in your SAP BO or Click or Power or Talent, or any feature that you create while feature engineering in your, let's say a Jupyter Python kind of a code, or a or a SageMaker or a any third party proprietary tool, that level of lineage is available using Manta. So that is where we have demonstrated, and if required, we can get in touch again, as I said. But we have successfully demonstrated this requirement in one of the bank that I was talking about, and we were eventually able to close the deal with them, where they saw great value in having a end-to-end lineage, not just from the business perspective, but also the technical lineage part using IBM Manta. So I hope I have able to answer your point. But of course, as I said, feel free to reach out, and we can have a detailed session and dialogue on this with you.
Thanks for that, Harshil. Dr. Mahesh Shirke, good comprehensive presentation. Well done, JP and Harshil. Please share the PPT. So, Dr. Shirke, like we said earlier, our team is going to be reaching out to you with a mail. And then, once you share your details with us, I think the IBM team can get in touch with you. Harshil here would be more than happy to share this with you. Dhruv Thakre. All right, this is interesting. Harshil, the one thing that IT leaders hate, maybe not as much as downtime, but then equally as much, is vendor lock-in. So Dhruv is asking us, let's say we want to be cloud agnostic. What options do we have?
The answer is IBM, Dhruv. Yeah, but on a lighter note, see, that is where when I was having the session, right? Uh, the architecture, entire architecture defines the technology and not the other way around. That is what we believe at IBM, right? So irrespective of, so it depends, very much important that how you as a data owner, what is the lay of your land, what is majority of your data source generation, what is majority of your data consumption happening, and that is where, keeping into consideration, we have that flexibility to define that architecture rather than other way around. So what I meant by that is, the entire solution that I presented, while we are available on AWS Marketplace, but being hybrid is our number one motto. So we have, entire software stack that you see has been developed on Red Hat OpenShift, which makes us infra agnostic. So now you, as a owner of data, decides where and what type of component I use and what infrastructure layer it could be. It could be multi-cloud, it could be, as I said, on AWS as a SaaS offering, or it could be on-prem and combination of cloud of your choice. So there is absolutely zero vendor lock-in over here, and that is the differentiator that IBM brings onto the table. So great question, Dhruv. I hope I have able to address your point.
All right. Another one, and Harshil, I would want to, route this question to you. Now, we saw that, half of AI ML models reach production. So, from an architecture standpoint, what would you recommend to our audience members here? What should they focus more on? Is it the process or the platform that we just spoke about, or should it be the people in charge of successful implementation?
I think good question again, and this is what I highlighted earlier, right? Of course, it is mix of all, but then it is the approach, right? So for ensuring that your AI use case sees the light of production, it is very important to have and form that strong, trusted, and governed data ecosystem beneath it, right? And the building blocks that we saw, whether it is a right set of data integration layer, an end-to-end enterprise-wide governance, and the choice of you to host your lakehouse in a way you want, depending upon the speed, the performance, the scale, etc., etc. Now, if this building blocks are plugged in tightly and in a right manner, AI use case, I feel, is just a byproduct, right? And that is where you can have more trust. See, why majority of these, and we have been seeing this, right? Whenever we, and especially with the Gen AI era, people are not confident whether the model has hallucinated or not. They cannot be
True.
absolutely bang on. And we have seen lot of cases where the brand name of an organization has gone for a toss just because your model has hallucinated, and the core is junk in, junk out, right? So you need to be absolutely sure about all your model are fetching the trusted, governed, and right set of data for you to confidently host that model in the productionized, right? To go to embark on that productionization of your AI lifecycle. So that at IBM is what we meant as having AI ready data architecture. I hope that helps explaining the point.
Right. Thanks for that, Harshil. We've got another one coming up with respect to the Gen AI data lakehouse, and I think we can take this one. This comes from Rajinder Raina, who's asking, how much trust can we have on Gen AI data lake instead of data lake can be considered when it comes to the data that we have? Legal or GDPR and revenue business impacts besides analytics. So, if you could tell us a little bit about, even I was curious on this, the Gen AI data lakehouse. You saw this entire evolution from warehouse to lakehouse. Now we're talking about Gen AI ready lakehouse.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about this.
So if I understood the question correctly, how trustworthy is Gen AI data lakehouse when it comes to the legal or GDPR, kind of
And
a
any GRC related mandates, yeah.
ERC related and yeah. So
Right.
that is what I was talking about, right? That it is very important for you, and again it eludes the same point, right? That you have the data or your use cases are derived from the data that has been fed by you. So we see this fancy or large language models, right? And it is a great boon to humankind. But but all the use cases that you derive on top of these LLMs, what we see is less than 1% of your organization data is actually contributed for your right out, and that is where the GDPR role or GRC role plays a very important. Hence, it is very important to have, see, and all these data is predominantly unstructured data, right? That is where when I told it is important to have that right set of pipeline to bring in your structured and unstructured data and have the governance layer implied on that structured and unstructured data and make your model only use the data which is of your enterprise, right? Is the key source or a success recipe or a success factor to this entire GDPR scenario. That is where you can avoid the scenarios like hallucination. The like we talked about data governance, there is important concept of model governance as well, which we are of course not covering because that was not our topic. But in my initial building block slide, IBM also has an AI governance mechanism as well, which ensure that your model, risk, compliance, and governance aspect are taken care of by every decision making of your model. So IBM in a whole, if you talk about, gives you data observability, data governance, and model governance all as part of one single platform and an infrastructure agnostic manner and in a flexible license manner. So this no one else in the market or very few people in the market delivers and have it. So that is where my response or my 2 cents to it. I hope it made sense.
Thanks for that, Harshil. We've got one question here coming in from Sachin Vilas Mane. And JP, I would want you to take this question. I'm sure you can, throw some light on this.
Sure.
So Sachin is asking, what advice would you give professionals when it comes to navigating the data to AI journey? I would want to add one small part of this question as well. Uh, when it comes to workload allocations, if you can tell me a little bit about, what Marketplace actually does uh, and how does it help in the entire AI journey?
So when it comes to marketplace, right? One is, as I was talking about, there are multiple solutions which are hosted on AWS Marketplace. Now, where you have options for data, what Harshil also talked about, right? Where you can create a data and or there are partners who have already shared the data which you can use to train the model or use that data in your application wherever you are using. Now, on top of that, right, in the marketplace, from a marketplace point of view, if you are following AWS, our VP for data and AI, Mr. Dr. Swami, he actually announced marketplace for agentic workloads. So, and that is where the Gen AI, the layer between the data and the Gen AI, what we are talking about, right? We have, which is you are able to use that data as a part of your orchestrate with the orchestration. and get the required responses. Now, I like based on the last question, what Harshil also responded, right? That you need to make sure that the data what you are getting from a GDPR point of view and other things, it is exactly right where we are talking about what the data you are passing and the data what you're getting is very true on that. But again, coming back to the marketplace component, I would say you will find
Mhm.
multiple partners, right, who are like, and if I have to talk about the numbers, right, AWS Marketplace has more than 25,000, like I would say, partners who have hosted their solutions, which you can very easily use for different use cases. Now, on top on that, there is a marketplace for Bedrock, where what actually Ashil didn't cover, that IBM have their models deployed on marketplace of Bedrock, which customers who are already using who are on AWS can very easily use those models if they're using the underlying system with IBM.
All right. Thanks for that. Ranjan, I'm going to take the second part of your question because, you get into data protection that's going to lead into a whole different ballgame altogether. So I like this part of the question where he's asking, in case we have to consider Gen AI, DL, the cost of infra will go up compared to DL, increase in bill of materials, BOM considerably. Um, if you can talk about, how do you optimize costs a little better? And if I could get inputs from both Harshil and JP, I think that would be great.
Yeah. Do you want me to go first, JP, or you want to?
Go ahead, Ashil.
Okay. And this is one of the topic that is very close to my heart, Rajendra, that you have raised, right? See, when we are talking about data lake as a concept, we need to understand the overall architecture. Now, a classical Hadoop kind of an architecture, when we talk about data lake, what it does is the very first aspect is that compute and your storage are tightly married to each other. Now, what happens in this scenario? If your data grows, you mandatorily have to grow your compute. The other drawback is your data is stored into multiples, minimum of three replications. This in clear cut increases your overall hardware and BOM without any second thought. In fact, Gen AI based data lakehouse solution, or rather say any lakehouse solution, will be an ideal fit because what it does is your compute and storage are decoupled. You have your object store to host the data. You don't require three times replication, and you can increase or scale out individually as the need grows, right? If your data grows, all you have to do is just add another object store layer, but compute can remains the same or vice versa. So in fact it is other way around, right? The lakehouse approach is much more cost effective. And when we talk about Gen AI or IBM's Gen AI data lakehouse solution, we further reduces the cost because unlike first generation lakehouse, we don't have only one choice of compute. We have multiple layer or fit for purpose compute engine. So what I mean by that is you can use Spark for analytical workload, but all the SQL workload need not come to Spark because Spark uses lot of compute, and that is where the bill shock hits to the customer. As a result, IBM provides a SQL engine, which is Presto. So you can use analytical workload on Spark and keep your reads predominantly, which is SQL in nature, which is what that is what most of your reports, your ad hoc query will consist of. Let it go to Presto. And Presto on the other side is known for its data federation as a power. So it could federate. You don't have to mandatorily bring all the data into your lake house. Unlike the data lake architecture, typically if you use Impala as a query engine, Impala cannot federate. So you mandatorily have to bring all the data into your data lake, which results in fattening your lake, which is multiplied by three. So imagine, right? And this is where, if required, we can do a cost comparison or a performance to cost analysis with you separately. But lake house as a concept is far more optimized. In fact, the IBM's Gen AI, not just because I'm part of IBM, I have proofs and statistics, to second it. And we have, closed multiple couple of deals in this quarter itself, wherein we have, shown significant improvements, significant performance at significant or a same performance as a significant lower cost as compared to the first generation lakehouse. So that is my 2 cents to it. So a lakehouse, Gen AI ready lakehouse or next gen lakehouse solution is far more optimized as compared to the data lakes or the first gen lakehouse that we have in the market. That was my input. Maybe JP, do you want to have a jab at it?
No, I guess what you have given is very much true, right? So just to understand the question in a better way, or I would say the way I have interpreted, right? What we are looking at is the Gen AI based data lake, what we are considering. Now, when it comes to storage, as you saw in the design also, right? If you are using S3, the cost of that storage is, again, it will not impact as and when your data is increasing to that level. But coming to an AI based data lake, right? What Harshil said, that is very much true from a data lake point of view. So I guess you have already answered what I was about to say on that.
All right. I'll take another one quick follow-up question from Mukamala Karthik. I think it's important because, again, it's on the topic of DL. Mr. Karthik here is asking, can real-time data streams be used to update GenAI models via a data lake?
So if you are looking at real time data streaming, right? Now, when you talk about Gen AI models, so if you are looking at large language models, foundation models, right? Then yes, it can be used. Like again, it will not update the model because for updating the model, you'll have to train the model. So I would not say that you can use the streaming data to train the model, right? But if you are looking at some insights on the streaming data, yes, you can always use generative AI for that.
All right. Well, I think, in the interest of time, we had so many questions, but thank you for taking the time to answer all of these, JP and Harshil. I think the audience interest in this topic was also great. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And audience members, do feel free to check out this webinar. It's going to be available in a week's time in the webinar section of the ETCIO website. If you would want to get in touch with Harshil or JP, we are going to be sending out a mail to you. You can express your interest when you revert back with your comments and share the feedback with us as well. That said, this is Shomik Ghosh signing off from ETCIO. You guys have a great weekend ahead. Take care and thank you once again.